South Carolina. Harvey Elwood back here at New Perspectives. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us. We appreciate all the support we've been getting from you, all our fans and friends down in Aiken and Barnwell and Denmark and Bamberg. It's just been overwhelming. The letters that we've been getting, the phone calls, the cards, the emails. It's just fantastic. It says that we're doing something. It says that we're meeting the needs and the goals of this community and this station and the program, which this afternoon we've got three very involved and very important key leaders in our community who are going to address this issue. We're going to talk about it for a little bit, get some information out there to the public, and keep the conversation going. I've got Superintendent Cynthia Cash-Greene from Consolidated School District 3. Welcome back to New Perspectives.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
I've got the other Cynthia, Cynthia Wilson, Consolidated School District 5.
Thank you so much for having us.
And representing the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Department, a 15-year veteran and a good friend of this community, and a good friend of New Perspectives, Mr. Kinsey, Chief of Staff for the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Department. Welcome to New Perspectives.
Thank you, Harvey.
You know, I mean, it's been in the news every day. We all know about what's going on. We had a show not long ago. We did talk about school safety. We found out that there's not a school resource officer at all the schools. Should there be one? I guess that's the first question. What do you think? Either one of the school superintendents first. What do you think? Do we need a resource officer at all the schools?
It would be very helpful if we had someone who was trained in safety in our schools that will assist and also to ensure the community and our staff and the public that our schools are safe.
Okay. Cynthia Wilson, Superintendent Wilson.
Well, I agree. It provides a level of, it increases the belief in the community and our ability to address issues if we have those resource officers in our schools. However, we do know that a resource officer alone is not going to be the one preventative measure that we can take to ensure that our students are safe.
What else would you suggest?
Well, I mean, we have to be very proactive about it. We have to address this on all levels. Chief of Staff Kinsey is very involved with us in the district, okay. And we have met with them to sort of develop this approach that covers all bases. Okay. And so I think it's a collaborative effort from all of us, not only the school system, but also our law enforcement agencies who are very supportive of our efforts to be more safe.
Sure. Chief Kinsey, what's your take on it?
I believe that law enforcement officer presence, number one, is the first step in the use of force continuum.
Okay.
But I do not believe a school resource officer is going to be the only answer for preventing. Now, it may lessen, but I don't think it's going to be a preventive measure all the time. I also believe we have to do something to harden these targets, and also some of the other programs that's going around trying to identify some of these folks that will commit this type of crime.
When you say harden the targets, what do you mean?
Make it harder for the person to gain access to these schools.
Okay.
Because these are some pretty big schools we're talking about here. One resource officer on the other end of the school may play a vital role in lessening the carnage, but not necessarily will it prevent it.
Sure, sure. You know, in some of the other larger school districts around the nation, this goes back as far as the 1970s, believe it or not, and I think Superintendent Greene would be familiar with this. They employed trained at the police academy individuals and something called the Bureau or the Department of School Safety. And these were individuals unarmed, 3 usually at a high school, 1 usually at the public schools, not sheriffs, not deputy sheriffs, but people who were trained at the police academy, and they would work in the school system. At that time, there was something called a CETA program. They paid the money for this thing. It came out to be $11,500 a year for the new hired employees. Eddie Murphy's uncle, a friend of mine, was a supervisor. Eddie Murphy, the comedian, he was a supervisor with that program. So that is an alternative. I just wanted to put that out there. because that may be something to look at.
It's ironic that you've said that. I've had some conversations with our Director of Security, Mr. Williams, regarding the same concept of possibly training individuals who are closely connected to our schools, because in most cases we cannot secure by providing a SRO for every event that happens, and a principal or persons in the schools are most familiar with every event occurs. So therefore, having someone, parent, fathers who are connected, who could be trained in this aspect. But then again, you get into the legal aspect of liability and those types of things. So we're still at the table discussing it.
Sounds good. And another follow-up on that same suggestion is that many of the people who worked in the Bureau of School Safety or the Department of School Safety, they were retired law enforcement officers. They had already been trained. They knew what to look for. They knew the signs, and they knew. So, of course, now that the Terry system is ending in the state, or the retirement system is changing, many individuals who have had law enforcement training and background perhaps may look for something. And this may be the ideal situation and opportunity that they would fall into. I'm just throwing that out there. Representative Bakari Sellers was here the other day, and he talked about finding the money. And I know I've talked to your chief, I've talked to Sheriff Ravenel, and he talked about where the funding will have to come from in order to make this whole thing happen. And that's a big concern, isn't it? Is it not? The money, how you...
Well, certainly, funding is always an issue. The economy has not been great. It is beginning to rebound, as many of us know, but it will take some period of time before we will see the level of funding that we've seen in the past coming back into the school system. So yes, of course, funding is always a concern. But when you look at safety, we have to make sure that everyone, the community, our parents, our employees as well, understand that safety is, of course, a priority for all of us. It's going to take all of us working more closely together to identify the funds that not only the school districts have, but also other agencies that they may have. It certainly helps when our legislative delegation is in favor of assisting us in funding those efforts. But again, there's not one solution to this issue of school safety. I don't want people to think if we do one thing, then everyone's going to be safe, or we do two things, then everyone's going to be 100% safe. I mean, we have to take and look at every avenue to provide different types of solutions to these problems, which I think Chief Kinsey sort of addressed a little bit earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is New Perspectives. I'm Harvey Elwood. I'm your host. We're having a conversation today with Superintendent Cynthia Cash-Greene, Superintendent Cynthia Wilson from Orangeburg Consolidated School District 5, and Chief of Staff of the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Department, Kinsey. And I'm so glad and delighted that they're here and they're sharing this information with us today, and you, our listening audience, particularly because we wanted to let folk know that you guys are doing something about this. Absolutely. That you all are not just waiting for something to happen, that you all are on top of it. You all have been actively engaged in the process of securing your buildings and our students, and we want to applaud you for that. What else is it that what else do we need to know as parents and community-involved people? What should we be doing? What should we know? Should we be pushing government more to provide the resources, or what do you think we need to do?
There's some simple things that can be done, particularly in the homes. Parents really are the first persons who know when their child leaves what their child has in his or her possession. Mm-hmm. Because those are mostly the people who are in and out of our schools all the time. You're
talking about kids bringing guns to school?
Well, it's just kids bringing weapons, any type of weapons to school. And so we ask that parents support us in this effort, that they too ensure that when children leave home, that they leave home with school in mind and not other social issues.
Have we had guns in schools? I mean, I'm sure the audience wants to know that. Have we had to arrest anybody?
In Orangeburg County?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, most definitely.
Okay, all right. And so we have to all be diligent and vigilant, and try to. And you say it starts at home. A lot of this, is the television?
The first line of prevention starts at home, because that's where the child then comes in order that he or she comes to school.
All right.
May I interject?
Yes, please.
As a proponent of the Second Amendment, gun owners owe it to themselves, their family, and the community to secure these weapons at home.
Right.
and to know when these weapons are not secured.
Right.
And as Dr. Green said, that's imperative that a parent knows where these firearms are at all times.
Right.
It's part of being responsible.
Because this woman who unfortunately was murdered in Connecticut, that was her own gun. She was killed with her own gun. And that was her son who is alleged to have committed these murders. And she obviously had to know something was wrong. So yes, it does in fact start with that. But the other part about it is, and we've talked about this on previous shows, we've talked about it with our audience and people have called into the show. Bullying. You know, how a person is smacked around, beat up, ostracized, and they get tired, they get fed up, and the school counselors may not be aware. They may be silently abused at home, and all these other factors. Those are things, ladies and gentlemen, that have to be addressed. If your child is being taken advantage of and you know about it, I would imagine that you would try to contact somebody in the school or some other professional, get that child some help. I mean, I'm not trying to provide a commentary or editorialize the situation, but, you know, we have some older people in our family, some basic things that we've learned over the course of our lives, you know, about what to do. And a part of it is being a good parent. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this is New Perspectives. Our guest has been, or is continuing to be, because you guys are going to stay with us a little longer. And y'all are going to have to liven up a little bit, because the show seems to be a little like y'all are not engaged in this.
We are engaged.
This is a very serious issue.
I know it's serious.
It's very serious.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a little while. All right. We'll be back. It'll be more lively when they come back.